स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In this video, dear friends, I will talk about the teaching method adopted by the Shastras. So far, it has been clarified as to what doorways of knowledge exist to perceive the external objects, and then it has been indicated as to how through those doorways alone we acquire the knowledge of the external objects. It has also been mentioned that the intuitive experience or consciousness that runs through, nay, pervades all those doorways is also an important doorway, and then it has been stated that the resultant intuitive knowledge or experience called Parmiti, that is Avagati, which manifests at the end of the transactions of the Pratyaksha Pramana, that is perceptual means made use of to know the Prameya. The object of perception is also that very intuitive experience or consciousness alone. But in the case of self-knowledge, there is no need of essential nature of intuitive experience or pure consciousness. The question like what is meant by knowing or cognizing such an Atma, how is it possible to know or cognize Atma of the essential nature of pure consciousness who cognizes everything? What is the purport of the statement made in the scripture? He should be cognized with the mind alone, have been raised, and in answer to them we have also indicated that to know or cognize Atma or the Self means to sublate or remove all the superimpositions made on Atma alone. Most important among those superimpositions which Paramat Tattva, that is cognized yourself, which is misconceived in the essential nature of pure being consciousness bliss of Atma, should be sublated. For this purpose alone. The mind should be cultivated or cultured properly by adopting certain rigid spiritual disciplines, and then when the mind is highly qualified to pursue subtler truths, the aid or spiritual practice of Adhyatma Yoga should be sought. Now we have to deliberate on the question, how do the scriptural text teach such an essential nature of pure being consciousness bliss of Atma? Just as we came to know that although Atma is not perceptible or cognizable by the mind, if we with a cultured or cultivated introspective mind follow or pursue a viewpoint which is introverted and intuitive at the same time, we can surely get rid of our or remove all misconceptions and get established in Atam consciousness. That alone is Atam Jnana, that is self-knowledge. In the same manner, although Atma is not to be comprehended by means of words, there is scope for conceiving or imagining in the manner Vedas, which are of the form of words and sentences. Sabda Pramana may be capable of teaching or expounding such an essential nature of pure being consciousness bliss of Atma in an uncommon or extraordinary manner. In order to indicate this purport alone to us, the scripture has translated the common people's opinion in the following manner. This is from Kena Upanishad, what it says. There the eyes cannot go or reach it. It is an entity which is not perceptible to any sense organ. It cannot be indicated by vak, that is speech, for none of the particular feature of characteristics like jati, that is species, dravya, that is substance, guna, that is quality, kriya, that is action, sambandha, that is relationship, etc., which are the causes for the transaction of words exist in it, that is atma. It cannot be cognized by the mind too, for the mind can objectify the external objects permea alone. It being so, how can this Atma be cognized or known? How can it be taught or expounded at all? We are not at all able to think. This opinion of the common run of people alone has been mentioned here in this context by the scripture. Another doubt in the Supreme Self alone, Paramatmam, everything has been misconceived, says the scripture. Vedas like Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharvaveda, and history, mythology, Vidya, Upanishad, slokas, that is verses, sutras, that is aphorisms, Anuvyaktahanas, that is explanatory commentaries, Vyakhyanas, that is commentaries or expositions, all these eight kinds of portions of Brahmanas are the very breath of that Paramatman, that is Supreme Self. Thus, the scripture is affirming how can the Shastra, that is scripture at all, teach that reality of Brahma Atman, which is the very source of the Shastra. There is also a statement in the Vedas to the effect all the Vedas teach Brahma, that is the ultimate reality. How is this possible? However much excellent or efficient words or sentences the Veda may contain, how can it give up its capacity of being words or sentences and signify Atma who is devoid of any particular features or characteristics whatsoever? The solution for this doubt is it is true indeed that it is not possible to indicate Atma in the manner. He is like this, like that, for in whatever manner we conceive Atma to be, it amounts to our dividing or limiting him. At one place, Sri Shankara has written in this commentary in the following manner. This is from Atreya Bhasha, Introduction to second chapter. The meaning of this except commentary is the task of conceiving or imagining in the manner the Supreme Self is such and such. He is like this, is not a feasible one. He exists, he does not exist. He is one, he is many, he is with qualities, cognizes, does not cognize, is endowed with action, is not endowed with action, is endowed with fruits, is not endowed with fruits, having a cause, not having a cause, of the nature of happiness, of the nature of grief, of misery. One having a middle, not having a middle, is a senseless, is not a senseless, the supreme self. I, another person, in this manner, that essential nature of the pure being consciousness, bliss, which exists without being comprehended by speech or by any concept. Despite this fact, if anyone attempts to conceive it, that is this reality of Atma, he will be like one who presumes that he can really roll up even the sky just like a sheet of hide can be rolled up, or that he can climb up the sky just like climbing up a staircase, or that he can find out the tracks of fish in water and the tracks of birds in the sky. For not this from him speech and mind return, thus also there are scriptural texts. There is a statement in the Manvantar Varna like who can at all know him clearly. Therefore, whatever extraordinary or special conception one may form will fizzle out without it being really Brahma. That is the absolute reality. Therefore, remaining without having or forming any mental concepts whatsoever is itself the best thing or solution for us to adopt. In that case, one may ask a question in the manner, how can the scriptures teach or indicate Atma at all? To this question, whatever we have stated already has indeed provided an answer in so many words. Just as to cognize or discern that Atma is one entity devoid of any mental concepts whatsoever, can for this purpose be said to be a way or device of intuiting Atma, in the same manner to indicate or teach that in Atma there is no room or scope for any mental concept whatsoever, is in itself a stratagem for the scriptures to signify this metaphysical truth of Atma. This methodology, methodology is called agama. This is from Kena Upanishad meaning true. It is proper to say that that is Atma cannot be indicated through perception, inference and such other paramanas, that is valid means of knowledge, but by means of agama, that is the traditional method of sublating or negating all the distinctions or characteristics which apply to not self in the manner of not this, and thereby help intuit the essential nature of pure being consciousness bliss of Atma, the reality which Atma can undoubtedly or invariably be signified. Therefore, the Upanishad further states that is Atma, Brahma is different from Vidita, that is thing that is known, and Avidita, the thing that is not known. Thus, Sri Shankara has written in his commentary that in this above manner, Agama has been expounded. Agama does not mean Shastra or scripture. In truth, this is the traditional methodology used for indicating Agamayatam, the essential nature of pure being consciousness, bliss of Atma. For example, Brahma is different from that which is cognized or known, Vidita, but at the same time it is different from that which is not cognized or known. Thus, the scripture itself is stating Vidita means any substance existing anywhere in empty space and time will be known or perceived. That is Vidita to some one or other. Indeed, and because it is fit to be known invariably to someone or other. Indeed, and because it is fit to be known invariably, the manifested mm, pra- prapancha, that is world or universe duality which is suitable to be known is called Vidita. On the other hand, Avidita means the unmanifested seed from Avyakrita, that is the cause of the manifested world of duality, but which is projected or conjured by Avidya, that is ignorance, by stating that apart from both these, Vidita and Avidita is Atma, who is quite different. The scripture purports to indicate that the Supreme Self or Paramatman who cognize both these by the light of his pure consciousness. Thus, by virtue of particular statement, it is Atman is different from both the manifested and the unmanifested world, which is an object alone. It amounts to the scripture having stressed in clear terms that the essential nature of pure being consciousness bliss is that of Atma or Brahma alone. In the Bhagavad Gita, this very reality of Atma alone has been taught as Prasottama, that is the supreme or the greatest self, as that reality which is different from Aksara, that is perishable, and Aksara, that is which is not perishable. In that case, by the valid means, Pramana of Shastra, that is the scriptural text, how is the reality of Brahma to be known or cognized? If Shastras are Pramana exclusively, how can the scriptural statement that through no valid means Pramana whatsoever that Atma or Brahma can be objectified, and neither is it possible to indicate Atma as such and such thing or phenomenon be proper or justifiable. Sri Shankara has raised this very doubt or objection and has written this following satisfactory answer. No, the scripture do not indicate Brahma in the manner it is such and such. They denote that it is not an object of knowledge. It is the scripture sublates the differences or divisions such as the triad of knower, the knowledge and the non-object, etc. In the same way, the scriptural sentences do not at all indicate it, that is Atma or Brahma, by assuming the distinctions or divisions of the kind. The teaching scripture, the teaching or propounding medium, and the object of teaching. The scriptural sentences invariably in and consistently propound that this Brahma is not an object to be taught. In fact, it is the Atma that is the very essence or core of being of the teaching scripture themselves. Thus, there is no defect whatsoever, nor is there any room for a doubt now. To the question, by teaching in this manner, what is the benefit accruing? The answer is by sublating all the distinctions or differences of the external world of duality, the aspirant is helped to establish himself in his own essential nature of pure being, consciousness, bliss of Atma. When the scriptures state, "He- Herefore, the teaching of Brahma commences not this, not this," the spiritual instructions enables us to sublate all those misconceptions which are likely to be imagined or superimposed upon Brahma and thereby help us to establish ourselves in our innate or intrinsic and essential nature of pure being, consciousness, bliss of Atma. Thus, it amounts to saying that the scriptures have actually taught us all about Brahma or Atma. One particular person who had even asked the question, does it not mean that by the sentences of the form of sublation in the manner, not this, that negative meaning of abhava, that is non-existence, is denoted? To that question, some people gave the answer. We have accepted this is not proper, not correct. For whether it is bhava, that is existence, or it is abhava, that is non-existence, both are subsumed in prapancha, that is the empirical world of duality alone. While teaching Atma, who is devoid of the empirical world of duality, quite different from the empirical world of duality, how can it be proper at all if one gets doubtful saying that it is Bhavadita? The purport of the scriptural sentence is of the type Neti. Neti is to sublate whatever is received either as bhava, that is an existing entity, or as abhava, that is a non-existing thing. Therefore, if it is said in the scriptural text that Atma is Ashulam, that is not gross, the common people may take it to mean small or subtle. For this reason, that is negated by saying Ananum, that is not small or infinitesimal, which is clearly opposed to or contrary to the earlier statement. To the negative word of nyaya in Sanskrit used to negate or contradict a particular concept or meaning of the type. A thing's non-existence or something different from, or a thing's opposite or contra, viruddha, may be connoted, but it will not be sufficient. The scriptures have come into existence to negate or sublate all misconceptions or superimpositions. In truth, in order to indicate or propound that there exists no misconception or superimposition whatsoever in absolute reality of Atma, there are several statements made in the scriptures, and they are of the type, that is, it moves or shakes, it does not move or shake, which indicate opposing or contrary characteristics of feature. In that case, how can this absolute reality of Atma at all be taught by the scriptures? Further, how can that reality be known? To keep still or tranquil in mind, e- uh, or Tusani Bhavastha is the best device or stratagem either to teach or to know it. Atma. In this context, the scriptures mention an anecdote when Vaisakali, a student by the name, questioned his teacher or preceptor, preceptor by name Bhardava. The later taught the former this reality of Brahma or Atma without talking, keeping silent. When Basakali asked and pleaded repeatedly, twice, thrice, Bha- Bhadava, the teacher answered, I am teaching you, but you on your part especially are not cognizing or knowing it. This Atma self is devoid of the world of duality, totally quiescent. But even if we remain quiescent or mentally still, it cannot be reckoned that we have completely or clearly cognized or intuited the essential nature of pure being, consciousness, bliss of Atma. For even then, there can lurk a misconception of the type I have cognized it in my mind to get established in Atma by intuiting or cognizing in the manner Brahman, the ultimate reality, is not object for any kind of concept. Alone is the real when it is stated in the manner not this, that the aspirants, that is sadhakas, may reckon, rather misunderstand that what we say and conceive as this and that, apart or distinct from Brahma, the ultimate reality, do not really exist, and for that reason, the scripture states all this is in front is Brahma alone of the nature of immortality, that which is behind, that which is the right, that which is to the left, that which is below and above, and that profound reality which has pervaded all this world. From the viewpoint of avidya, whatever is appearing before us, all this is Brahma alone. That which is behind to is Brahma, to the right to Brahma alone, to the left to Brahma alone. That which has pervaded below and above also is the supreme or profound Virishta Brahman, the ultimate reality alone. Behind and in front, such spatial relationships and then and now, such temporal relationships, and because therefore such relationships pertaining to the cause-effect categories also are all in reality Brahma alone. All that we cognize as not Brahma, that is not self, is indeed misconception caused by avidya, analogous to the wrong knowledge of the snake misconceived in the really existing rope. In order to drive home this idea, the scripture sublates or negates all possible superimpositions in the manner. Not this, not that. For that reason alone, Sri Gaudapada, who knew the traditional Vedantic methodology and who was an exponent in its application, states cognizing the internal reality, cognizing the external reality too, becoming one with the reality and reveling in it alone. One should see that he does not slip down or dither away from reality. All the misconceptions in the Adhyatmika region, the within our corporeal self, which appear in the forms within us like the body, the senses, and the mind, we should intuit as the ultimate reality of Brahma or Atma alone. We should also cognize the externally appearing misconceptions of the type, the earth, the water, that is five elements of nature, etc., to be the ultimate reality of Brahma alone. We must also intuit or cognize that I too am the reality alone. The misconceptions of the form of Parmatattva, that is cognizership, Parmetva, that is the objects of cognition, etc., really do not exist in me. Reveling in the reality alone, we should attain the intuitive experience culminating in the manner there exists the ultimate reality alone, absolutely or transcendently devoid of any misconceptions whatsoever, and immutable or undivided in essence. In that case, to the seeker or aspirant, there is no fall or dislodgement from reality. How can the reality get dislodged from itself? The saints of Maharashtra, Karnataka especially were exponents par excellence in this kind of intuition. This alone is the scriptural methodology of teaching. This alone is what is meant by cognizing or intuiting the purport of this. So here ends this video. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you.